The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you today. Hey, cognitive strength, attention, and the future of a free people. Today on The Right Side, I'm going to talk about the something that is shaping the future of this country. More than any election, more than any headline, the human mind. Screens, algorithms, attention, and what happens to a free society when the next generation struggles to focus, think deeply, and resist manipulation. Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
All right, good afternoon, America. Let me start with a question that sounds simple, but in reality it is not. Are we getting smarter? For most of modern history, the general assumption was yes, every generation on average gained skills, expanded knowledge, and built what came before, built on all of those things that came before us, generation after generation. But now something feels different. Teachers are talking about attention that doesn't hold. Parents, talk to your kids who can swipe, but they struggle to sit, right? And employers are talking about young adults who have a harder time with follow-through, focus, and basic problem solving. And then comes the claim that stops people cold in their tracks, that for the first time in modern history, a rising generation may be underperforming in certain cognitive skills compared with generations before them. So listen, my job here is not to scare, it's not to put forth conjecture based in conspiracy. My job here is to help you think clearly about what's happening and what we can do about all of this. Because if this is real, even partly real, it's not just a parenting issue, it becomes a civic issue for us. Civics, something that has been stripped out of the educational curriculums thanks to the progressive left radical liberal agenda in this country. But let's define what we actually mean by cognitive ability. We're not talking about trivia here. We're talking about mental capabilities like attention. Can you stay with a task without drifting? Working memory. Can you hold information long enough to use it? And executive function. Can you plan, prioritize, and resist distraction? And then there's literacy and numeracy, right? Can you read deeply? Can you reason with numbers? Those are the mental muscle of a free society. And because these are the skills that let citizens evaluate arguments, spot manipulation, think beyond the moment, and make long-term decisions and govern themselves instead of being governed by impulse. If all of those skills begin to erode, freedom doesn't collapse then with a bang, it collapses with a shrug. So now let's slow it down even more, because this is where the hype and the science get tangled up. What does the research generally suggest here about this topic? Well, it suggests that there are meaningful associations, not always perfect cause and effect proofs, between heavy screen exposure, especially in childhood, and things like shorter attention spans, sleep disruption, increased impulsivity, changes in reading habits and learning engagement. And that word matters, associated, all right? Because we're not doing conspiracy radio here. We're doing reality. And the reality is enough science and serious people are paying attention to these trends, and we should too. So here's the bigger point. This isn't only about screen time. It's about what kind of system those screens are plugged into. Because something has changed, ladies and gentlemen, in the human environment. I believe it. Your television in the 1980s didn't track you, okay? Your radio in the 1960s didn't personalize content to your emotional reactions. And the book that people read in the 1920s didn't rewrite itself if you got bored with it. But modern platforms do something entirely new. They respond to you. They learn. They learn what holds your eyes, what makes you swipe, what makes you pause, what makes you react. And then they give you more of that. Not because it's good for you, but because it's good for engagement. And in the modern economy, engagement is money. So now attention is no longer just a human experience, it's a commodity. It's bought, it's sold, it's measured in clicks and watch time. And we need to say this plainly, ladies and gentlemen. In the modern economy, attention has market value. That means there will always be competition for it. So let me give you a simple practical example. Reading a book requires holding a mental picture, remembering what happened, 10 pages prior, tracking cause and effect, staying with complexity over time. Scrolling a feed requires reacting, sampling, swiping, moving on. One of those builds depth, the other one builds breadth. And both have their place, but they train very different habits of the mind. And if your mind is trained primarily in sampling and switching, then deep work becomes painful. Deep reading becomes frustrating. And long conversations become exhausting. Does this sound familiar? And have you noticed these trends in American young people? Boredom. Boredom becomes unbearable because boredom is the doorway to imagination and to reflection and to patience. So when a child or an adult is trained to eliminate boredom instantly, something important gets lost. Not intelligence, endurance, cognitive stamina, the ability to sit with difficulty long enough to learn. Because real learning is often uncomfortable. Now, I've got a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. If you're from Raytown, Missouri, that's education. And I used to teach high school kids. Look, you don't get algebra the first time you wrestle with it. You struggle with it. You stay with it. And the staying with it part is the muscle that many people now report is weaker. So let me go one layer deeper with you. This is the part that most people miss, the economics of attention. Look, most platforms out there are free, but free, as you know, my friends, is rarely free. If you're not paying for the product, you're the product. Companies profit by capturing time and attention and then selling access through advertising, data-driven targeting, and behavioral influence. And to do that, platforms have to answer one constant question. What keeps this person here longer? It's not what builds character or what helps this person learn or what improves their life, just what makes them stay. That's not a villain story, that's an incentive story. And incentives shape systems. Now, let me talk about the brain piece in a reasonable way here, because you'll hear people talk about dopamine. Well, here's the simple version of what I want to tell you about that. Dopamine is involved in motivation and reward learning, the brain's way of saying, pay attention, this matters. Novelty, surprise, emotional intensity, those are things that can spike the reward signal. And in the digital environment, novelty is infinite. There's always another clip, another post, another headline, another scroll. So what happens? The threshold rises. What held your attention yesterday feels boring today. So the system competes by becoming louder, faster, more emotionally charged, and more extreme, not because it's wise, because it works. Now bring that into childhood. A developing mind, still getting wired, right? Self-control, emotional regulation, impulse management, focus. So if a child grows up in an environment of constant stimulation, the lesson is subtle but very powerful. Discomfort is optional. Boredom is a problem to solve immediately. Focus can be abandoned as soon as something more interesting shows up. And that doesn't mean kids are broken. It means kids are trained. And every environment trains. So here's the key moment in this particular conversation. Some data suggests that declines in certain measures exist, like reading comprehension or sustained attention, while other areas may show gains, like visual and spatial navigation, hand-eye coordination, digital, multitasking, and so forth. It may not be a simple smarter or dumber narrative. It may just be a shift. What we're training different kinds of minds for a different kind of world. And that leads to the real question, my friends. What kind of intelligence are we creating? Because I think a society optimized for speed and reaction will produce people who are very good at scanning, adapting, switching, responding, but it may struggle to produce people who are good at sustained focus, delayed gratification, long-term planning, and deep moral reasoning. And those last four, sustained focus, delayed gratification, long-term planning, and deep moral reasoning, those are republic skills. Those are citizen skills. Folks, those are freedom skills. So let's talk about one more acceleration factor. AI-generated content at scale. For the first time in history, we can generate culture. Not just distribute it at a volume and spread what's hard to grasp. Not just points, not just memes, entire streams of content, endlessly. And they're tailored and they're personalized. They're optimized. And here's the moral question. A system built to optimize for a metric will optimize for that metric. If the metric is watch time, you'll get content engineered to increase watch time. If the metric is clicks, you'll get content engineered to trigger clicks. Values don't enter the equation unless someone puts them there. So the question becomes, if children are living inside these environments for hours a day, who carries the duty of care? Parents, schools, companies, communities? And the honest answer is it has to start with families and communities. Because no platform, my friends, can love your child. And no algorithm can parent your child. So let's get practical, because I don't do doom without direction. Here's an American first response and what it looks like. No bans, not panic, not screaming into the void, a culture of attention, okay? A culture that treats focus, reflection, and self-control as strengths, not as inconveniences. And parents, the most powerful move that you have is not controlling the entire internet. It's building a home environment where attention is protected. Reading together. Boredom without a screen. Boredom happens. Long conversations with your kids. real responsibilities at home. Unstructured playtime, quiet time. Now, those things don't go viral, but they build something more durable than engagement. They build character, and character is downstream from attention, because a person who can't focus can't persevere, friends, and a person who can't persevere cannot become free. And schools matter too. Education is not just information transfer. If it were, the internet would have replaced teachers years ago, folks. Education is formation. It's learning how to struggle with ideas, to listen carefully, to speak clearly, to disagree without destroying things, and to stay with a problem when the answer isn't immediate. A classroom should be one of the few places left in society where attention is protected. And you know, if I were governor of a state, I would bring philosophy, among others, but philosophy back into the grade school and high school classroom. Right. Because I think it teaches kids how to be critical thinkers. So classrooms should be where students are trained to read deeply, to think slowly, and to reason honestly. And then, of course, the community, and it matters. Families don't raise children alone, folks. Now, I'm not talking about the old Hillary Clinton, it takes a village nonsense. I'm talking about neighborhoods. Neighborhoods matter. Churches matter. Clubs matter. And mentors matter. They create what I call moral weather, right? They create an environment where certain habits feel normal. And that moral weather shapes people more than any app ever could. So now let me land this thing and tie it in to the stakes that we have here. Health decisions, money decisions, civic decisions, all of them assume something about the citizen. That the citizen can think. That the citizen can pay attention. That the citizen can weigh evidence and resist emotional manipulation and think beyond the moment. If that assumption fails, no political system can save a free society. Because freedom doesn't collapse when a law is passed. It collapses when people stop noticing what is being passed. So here's the closing truth. This isn't about fear. This is about confidence. Human beings are not just consumers of content. Human beings are creators of meaning. And parents are not passive bystanders. They are stewards of their children. Teachers are not facilitators. They are guides. Citizens are not data points. They are the foundation of this republic. And America First here means that families come before systems and communities before platforms, character before clicks, wisdom before speed. And I mean the wisdom with a capital W, wisdom from the Holy Spirit. Because the most important border that we defend is not on a map, ladies and gentlemen. It's around the human mind. Ladies and gentlemen, a free nation is not built by machines. It's built by people who can think clearly, speak honestly, choose wisely. It's not a technological problem. This is a human responsibility. Hey, look, thanks for spending time with me today. I appreciate it. Please head over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, At the Right Side, Doug Billings. YouTube, At the Right Side, Doug Billings. We're in this together, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, Doug Billings. Hey, my good friends at EMP Shield, that's electromagnetic pulse, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri. Electromagnetic pulse could wipe out your home electrical system, could wipe out your vehicle. And thanks to the radical liberal agenda that was put forth under Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris, there are lots of people in this country who want to do us harm. And maybe an EMP device would be their chosen weapon. But EMP Shield gives you a device that can protect you. This little baby here goes on your home outlets, a computer, a router, whatever you want to protect. And then they also have a larger model like this. You can still hold it in the palm of your hand that goes on your vehicle battery so that you can get out of trouble from point A to point B. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen. Save yourself. Save your property. EMPshield.com. Promo code Doug. We're in this together, folks. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.